here it is. I am finally getting myself to do the video of the exercises that the physio recommended for my rotator cuff muscles. I know a few people have been having issues with this, so I thought I'd better share the exercises, and they're really helping me. It's been a month. I've been doing these regularly, almost every day, at least 4 or 5 days a week. And I've noticed a difference. I'm feeling much better. I used to have very tight muscles here at my thoracic area, and turns out that my rotator cuff muscles were weak. So these kind of exercises helped build the strength there. So the first one that the physio recommended is a bit like a wall push-up, but with a much wider stance. So I am gonna use this door here. So the point here is not to keep the hands closed like a normal push-up, but to really widen your position and keep the shoulder down and protracted. Put it back and down, and make sure that your scapula here is not winging too much. Mine still is a little bit, but much less. So in this position, you need to find a good spot where the winging is reduced. And normally it helps if you really brace your core and bring your hips in. So finding that position and then just going forward with really little motions, very small motions, back and forth, you know. And sometimes it's good to check with your other hand and see if the winging is dramatic or not, you know. So mine used to be worse. Now it's getting a little bit better, but this is it. And at first I started with one hand. She recommended using one hand, and eventually I've been able to. First I started with two hands on the wall, you know, in a wider stance, you know, and just checking with your scapula and where it is, and then eventually just using one hand on the wall, you know, and checking with the scapula, and remembering to keep the shoulder back and down and not up like this and tense, down, back and relaxed, watching the scapular movement. And do as many as you can. I've been doing around 15, 20 on each side. Then after this one, she told me to do a lot of internal rotation work with a band, and it needs to be a weak band. It doesn't need to be a strong one, because these muscles, they don't require heavy load. They're not resistance type of muscles. They're actually endurance type of muscles, so they respond better to high reps than heavy load. So basically the internal rotation with the band looks like this. Again, keeping the shoulder down and protracted. That's the most important thing, is to put the scapula back in the right position. You know, so kind of watching again where the winging is happening. Okay, keeping the elbow in and just moving back and forth, in and out actually, slowly and controlled. For me, there's still a bit of winging here happening, but it does take time, and it's getting better over time. So that's the good news. So both sides again, and she also said that it's good to do, apart from internal, to do external rotation, which is just the opposite. Again, remembering to keep the shoulder down and back, you know, and being aware of your position of your scapula. And your traps, they feel stretched immediately when you put your shoulders down. So that's how it should be done to prevent any rotator cuff issues. And the other one that I've been doing the most is also the punching with a band one. So this one is good for the serratus area. So it's just using the band and doing this kind of punching motion. Again, keeping the shoulder down and back instead of up and like that. So keep it low, back, Pay attention to the scapula, brace the core, that helps, tuck the hips in, also that helps with keeping a good posture with the shoulder, and really slow motions. And high reps of this. It's very boring, it's tedious, but once you add this to your routine, warm-up routine, it gets easier. She also suggested, some floor exercises, which I'm gonna maybe start doing. I've started doing one of them, but I'll make a video later on. But one of the floor exercises that I can mention here is the V, T, W, and L on the floor. So V, T, W, L on the floor. Again, keeping the shoulders back and down rather than up and tense. So you don't need to add any weight to this at all, even though it might be tempting. It can feel easy, but after a few reps you start feeling, your shoulders getting tired of it and your scapula being worked, and that's the point. It's an endurance type of thing, and that's how you build strength in these muscles. And it's been helping me a lot, so I thought, I share it with some of you guys that are having similar issues. Okay, hope it helps. Good luck.